Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. And so we debate as we compare our opinions. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. As foretold on this broadcast, the President of the United States has stood down from his re-election campaign, throwing his endorsement to Kamala Harris. The Democrat Party trying to figure out exactly what to do. A lot of people said, yes, we're for Kamala. A lot of people said, yes, Joe Biden is a hero, but without any reference to the vice president. We are going to talk about that in the second hour of the Wells Report today. Unfortunately, there is a bigger story. That big story is Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. She is testifying as we speak before the House Oversight Committee 48 minutes ago. She said that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied from former President Donald Trump's team. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no? And what did you tell them no to? This was Jim Jordan, the Republican from Ohio. He is the chairman of the committee, the House Oversight Committee. What Cheadle then said is, what I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times when there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that report. That was from 48 minutes ago. 36 minutes ago, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle said she could not confirm whether agents confronted Thomas Matthew Crooks before his attempt on former President Donald Trump's life. Cheadle made the statement under questioning from Representative Stephen Lynch, the Democrat from Massachusetts, at the hearing of the House Oversight Committee. Did anyone confront Crooks on that? Did anybody ask him questions? What are you doing with the rangefinder? Anybody confront him on his presence where he was in proximity to the president? Cheadle responded, quote, so again, to my knowledge, I believe that was the process that was taking place, was to locate the individual. Lynch pressed, did they confront him? Did they go up to him? Did they talk to him? Cheadle said, I do not have those details at this time. Cheadle, by the way, is fighting off well-reasoned demands that she resign. This, by the way, from 24 minutes ago. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, in response to comments from Representative Stephen Lynch, the Democrat from Massachusetts we just spoke of, about the considerable delay in removing President Trump from the podium during the rally in Pennsylvania, told House Oversight Committee members that when the agents identified that the shooting was taking place, in under 3 seconds, they threw themselves on top of the president. I understand there was heroism here. No question about it. Representative Lynch cutting her off. But protocols would indicate that these are opinions of various former Secret Service agents, people who have done this work in the past, that over a minute of exposure that occurred immediately after all of that, at the podium with a shooter with a high-capacity weapon who had already wounded the president and could have gone off. We don't know how many more rounds, and yet the president remained exposed, even though he was joined in that exposure by Secret Service and their heroic acts. I don't know if there's a good explanation for that. Our personnel created a body bunker on top of the president, shielding him, said Director Cheadle. This was an AR-15 style weapon that could have made pretty quick work if he was determined and able to do so, Lynch responded, referring to the capabilities of the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Let's see, this from 20 minutes ago, Progressive Representative Ro Khanna from California called on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to resign today. Khanna made the statement during Cheadle's testimony before the House Oversight Committee. The lawmaker grilled Cheadle over the Secret Service's failure to protect the former president, resulting in a shocking back and forth. Director Cheadle, would you agree that this is the most serious security lapse since President Reagan was shot in 1981? Cheadle responded, yes, sir, I would. Well, do you know that Stuart Knight did? He was in charge at the time of the Secret Service. Do you know what he did? Khanna said, he remained on duty, said the director. Khanna immediately disputed her, saying he resigned. He resigned. And Stuart Knight was not a Democrat appointee or Republican appointee. I'm not questioning your judgment. I just don't think this is partisan. If you have an assassination attempt on a president or a former president or a candidate, you need to resign. That's what Stuart Knight did. He was a Republican appointee. He took responsibility. You cannot go leading a security agency when there's an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate. 2 minutes ago, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle said today, when I have a full and complete report of exactly what happened, there will be accountability. We will make changes. But then said a report that wouldn't be complete up until 60 days from now. I can tell you our mission assurance internal investigation, we are targeting to have that completed within 60 days. There's also an external investigation that is going to be taking place. There are a number of Office of Inspector General investigations as well. Cheadle did not answer. That answer did not sit well with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democrat from New York, who said the notion of a report coming out in 60 days when the threat environment is so high in the United States, irrespective of party, is not acceptable. This is not theater. This is not about jockeying. This is about the safety of some of the most highly targeted and valued targets internationally and domestically in the United States of America, said Ocasio-Cortez. So the idea that a report will be finalized in 60 days, let alone prior to any actionable decisions that would be made, is simply not acceptable. AOC went on to say there need to be answers. Again, this is not a moment of theater. We have to make policy decisions. We have to make them now. We do. And that may require legislation. That may require policy that we must pass in the immediate term. And without that, we are flying blind. So the lack of answers and lack of report is just simply not something we can accept here. Cheadle said earlier that in the hearing, she is not waiting for those investigations to be completed before making changes. And so there is one last thing. Representative Jamie Raskin, he is the Democrat ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, asked the Secret Service Director on Saturday, July 13th, local police had identified, even photographed a man who was acting suspiciously. The man turned out to be the gunman, had been flagged as a potential threat. Is that accurate? Cheadle responded, quote, what I can say is the individual was identified as suspicious. Then Raskin asked, so he was known to be suspicious before President Trump took the stage? Cheadle said, yes, that's the information I have received. If the detail had been past information that was a threat, the detail would have never brought the former president out on stage. That's what we do. This is who we are. We are charged with protecting all of our protectees, said Cheadle. There are a number of times at protective events where suspicious people are identified. Those individuals have to be investigated and determined what is it that identifies them as suspicious, she also said. Joining us on the telephone is who? Hi, who is this? Welcome to the Wells Report.
Hi, J.D. Wells. It's Val Dior. How are you?
Hi, Val Dior. How are you? We're talking about...
I am well. I'm listening. Tell me, though.
Yes.
Isn't this convenient timing? I mean, I literally watched Twitter feed everyone who was so up in arms over yesterday what happened with Joe Biden dropping out of the race. All of a sudden, just like that, there was no talk of that. Now we've gone to what's going on right now.
Well, what we're going to do is
what happened with Joe. We're not playing political theater. You don't see by now that everything is so well orchestrated to distract you from literally what was going on just hours ago.
Yes.
Talk from one, incident that we're questioning, what the hell's going on there, to, oh, no, over here, let me dangle the carrot, or the shiny object over here to distract us. That's what I heard.
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking more about the president resigning in the next hour of the Wells Report. I hope you can call back then. We promised to call back then.
Good deal. I would love to. Yeah, but listening, that's exactly what I hear. I'm thinking by now, do we not know? Can we not predict from one day to the next that something is going to be thrown in front of our faces to make us? We're such a fickle country. Really, a lot of us are. Well, not a lot of us. A lot of them are. You can dangle a shiny object, and we've proven that they will just automatically focus on that. Forget what happened literally hours ago. That's how quickly feeds change. That's how predictable this situation has become, and we got to stay ahead of it. We got to stay ahead of it. And I think we've talked. I think I have the answer. I think I know what they're planning ultimately down the road.
Well, by all means,
I would love to catch up with you then.
Let's talk next hour. By all means, and thanks very much, Val Dior. Thank you, Val. That's Val Dior. She is one of the greatest news people that ever hit a radio frequency. She's magnificent. She'll join us next hour here on the Wells Report. I want to dip into the hearing going on right now before the House Oversight Committee. I want to do that as we continue here on the Wells Report. Let me see what I can do about bringing that up. Okay, here we go. This is what's happening on Capitol Hill as the chairman of the House Oversight Committee is now speaking to Secretary Cheadle. Let's go there and take a look at exactly what he's talking about.
I'm going to be asked again, and hopefully we can get some answers to those questions. I strongly implore you to answer those questions. You're here with a subpoena, and we expect you to answer the questions. Chair now recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Cheadle, the American people are watching, and they're wondering if there are any questions you can answer honestly today. So, Director Cheadle, I have a series of questions, very specific questions. I want very specific answers. Most of my questions are going to demand a yes or no answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, my first question. Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question. Yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent? Yes or no?
I have always been
yes
eager
or
to
no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer
to
the
committee.
question. We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours before this committee got your statement.
Without objections ordered.
All right. And so Nancy Mace is certainly not doing anything that would hide her disgust with the Secret Service director, Kimberly Cheadle, and using the time-honored reference to organic fertilizer as a way to describe that. So what do you think? Yes, we will be talking about President Biden's decision to step away from his campaign for re-election next hour, but right now it's the assassination attempt. What did you see just then? We'll talk more next on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. So we have some chat room answers to some of the questions asked of Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. Yvonne says, I think her nose is growing. Mark Greer, typical non-answer session. Buddy says, why did she have to curse? Talking about Nancy Mace. Cheadle might well resign. When Trump's back, she'll be replaced along with Ray, Mayorkas, Garland, Klinger over at Health and Human Services. Her days are numbered. Mark also says, seems though the past few years anyone called before Congress has never been briefed or has any information in front of them. Always, I'll get that for you. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. That's what happens, in my humble opinion. That's what happens when you're playing politics instead of actually doing your job. When there is a deep state and you are a part of it at varying degrees, then you have to give political answers instead of factual ones. That's the difference between politics and reality. Which do you believe is happening here? What I hear and what I see is a pretty much excoriation, bipartisan no less. Kwasi Mfume, the Democrat, just pointed out that the Secret Service was 413th out of something like 450 agencies to work for, people who like to work there. And so this is Representative Stansbury, who is from New Mexico, currently questioning Kimberly Cheadle of the Secret Service.
Went to the site. On July 12th, the shooter went to a gun range where he and his dad regularly go and practiced shooting. And the next day, on July 13th, he went to the site again before the rally began. We know that he then went and searched online for a gun store where he went and he purchased 50 rounds of ammunition, went home, got his father's AR, which was legally purchased, and returned to the venue. At 5 p.m. that evening, this is more than an hour before Donald Trump actually took the stage that evening, local law enforcement were made aware that there was a suspicious man. In fact, at 5:20, local law enforcement flagged that he had a rangefinder, and they radioed their concerns and sent around pictures of the individual. At 5:40, 20 minutes before local law enforcement actually identified the shooter, and at 5:51, Secret Service was notified of the suspicious person by the state police, and 1 minute later, they distributed that information. That was before Donald Trump even took the stage. That was 11 minutes before he took the stage. So the Secret Service was aware that there was a suspicious person. At 6:03, he took the stage. At 6:09, rally goers, as was shown in the video, identified this gentleman climbing on the roof. At 6:11, 3 shots were heard, 3 rounds of shots. And of course, the president and the other victims were shot. This shooter was a 20-year-old young man, no criminal record, legally purchased gun and ammunition, who for days in the lead up to this shooting was searching mass shooters. He even had a picture of a mass shooter on his cell phone the day of the shooting. He searched for explosives. He searched high-level officials. So the American people want to know, how did a 20-year-old young man with access to a military-style weapon actually bring it onto an unsecured perimeter who for days had been planning a mass shooting event? And I think that, Madam Director, with all due respect, the answers that we've received here in this hearing today are completely unsatisfactory.
That is Representative Stansbury of New Mexico. Everybody on that dais is decidedly anti-Cheadle. This is not one of those situations where there's a food fight around a witness in a bipartisan or a partisan way. Everyone is calling for Kimberly Cheadle's job. We'll have more about this and more about President Biden and his situation as we continue on the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare.
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare.
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Secret Service Secretary, I keep saying that, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is being blown up in the House Oversight Committee. Mr. LaTurner, Representative LaTurner, is the latest to be the inquisitor. We'll get to him in just a couple of moments, although his time may be running out. So Yvonne says, wow, she has the order of what happened, but Cheadle didn't, referring to Nancy Mace. Why was the rangefinder not confiscated, asks Ann. And they have tried Secret Service FBI to throw the local police under the bus for the shooter getting missed. Mark, replying to Ann, why was he not stopped and questioned at any time? So many questions. Let's get back to the hearing here on the Wells Report.
Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Chair now recognize Mr. Frost from Florida.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And obviously, I want to start by stressing that political violence is always unacceptable. and acknowledging that this is still an ongoing investigation. But oversight hearings like this are essential components of an investigation, and I want to thank the chair for pulling this together. Madam Director, I appreciate you for being here. The events of July 13th raised serious questions about the efficacy and thoroughness of the security protocols in place. The gravity of the fact that an unsophisticated gunman was able to secure his perch and take a shot at a former president despite multiple layers of security and intelligence are not lost on me. Before I came to Congress, I used to work advance for a major political candidate and have interacted with many different law enforcement agencies on large political events like the one that just happened. How many times was the Secret Service alerted about a suspicious person at the July 13th campaign event prior to the first shot being shot?
I don't have an exact number to share with you today, but from what I've been able to discern, somewhere between 2 and 5 times there was some sort of communication about a suspicious individual.
To the Secret Service specifically. According to reports, the shooter was photographed twice by security officers prior to the shooting. A police officer saw the shooter on the ground and reported him with a photograph as a suspicious person. Multiple local law enforcement officers identified the shooter, radioed that he was acting suspiciously near the event's magnetometers. A local law enforcement tactical team saw the shooter on a roof and notified other security services and also photographed him. One police officer who photographed the shooter saw him scoping out the roof and carrying a rangefinder. My question is, and you've answered this, but why, or you haven't answered this, why wasn't the event paused right then?
Again, I'm not clear on the timeline of when the Secret Service shift and the counter sniper were notified.
But earlier,
individual
Madam
on
Director,
the-
earlier you said that the Secret Service would have paused the rally if they identified a threat.
Correct.
So why wasn't it paused?
Because I have to assume that they did not know that there was a threat when they brought the president out on the stage.
I feel like this is a breakdown in communication between local law enforcement, you all, and other actors at the rally. And again, as someone who's worked on these, I understand that there's multiple people with multiple decision, with the ability to make different decisions on the ground. I've taken over the last week, I've spoken with a lot of folks in local law enforcement in my district and across the country that I've worked with before, and other people have brought up concerns around being able to communicate with with Secret Service during these big events and having their flags taken seriously. I do believe that if Secret Service believed that there was a legitimate threat, that they would have paused the rally. My concern is before that something was flagged and it wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been taken. So I think this shows an issue with communication. And I want to know, Madam Director, what you intend to do to fix that, not in 60 days, but now. We're in the middle of a presidential election, obviously a former president who had an assassination attempt, another rally goer who was killed due to this gun violence. We now have a presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party who's also historic, first Black woman to be running for president. And so I am worried about everybody's life. What do y'all intend to do to fix this communication breakdown and making sure that you actually take what local law enforcement, local folks are saying more seriously?
We take what local law enforcement relays to us seriously. Let me just be clear on that. As far as the communication.
But not this time.
We always trust our law enforcement partners and have a great relationship with them. We are looking at whether or not there was a communication breakdown. If that was the case, we will take steps to ensure that we correct that, because to your point, we cannot have a communication breakdown.
Madam Director, does you mentioned that the perimeter of the event did not include the rooftop where the shooter was. Does your responsibility and the Secret Service's responsibility to protect a principal stop at the perimeter of an event?
Our responsibility is to ensure the safety and security of the event itself and the protectee who is attending that event and the personnel who are protecting.
So you would say the fact that the rooftop was outside the perimeter is not an excuse for what happened, saying that it was outside the perimeter of the event?
I am not offering that as an excuse.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Fallon from Texas.
How did a 20-year-old loner with a week's notice pick the absolute best location to assassinate President Trump when the entire Secret Service missed it? Director Cheadle, in your leadership, your agency got outsmarted and outmaneuvered by a 20-year-old. How can we have any confidence that you could stop a trained professionals from a nefarious nation state?
Those are absolutely questions that we need to have.
I know the
answers
questions,
to.
but the fact of the matter is we can't have that confidence. Director, do you have the ability personally, and do you have the authority to beef up security of any of your protectees?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So were you also aware there was a credible threat President Trump was facing? He was facing a heightened security threat to a foreign adversary?
Yes.
Okay. So given that there was an increased threat to President Trump's life, was he provided a full security complement akin to what a sitting U.S. president would receive?
He was provided a full complement of security based on the threat assessment that we had
That's not my
and the
question.
venue.
My question is, if he'd been the sitting president, would he have had the same security he had on July 13th, or would have been beefed up?
There is a difference between the
So
sitting
he didn't. So
president
your answer is he didn't.
and continuity of government
Okay.
and the responsibility
So he
that we
did
have.
not. Okay, there wasn't a CAT team, a full CAT team on site. There wasn't counter surveillance teams on site. But this is the thing. You just said you had the ability to beef up the security. You knew about the threat, and you didn't. And that's as telling as it is chilling.
That is Mr. Fallon, and you can see that this is a tough day for Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle. And there is no excuse. She is being evasive. She is being difficult. She is answering in a political way, which means that there is most certainly a political component to all of this. There is information that is in the public domain that apparently, and no one can really explain why, there is information in the public domain that does indeed belie a lot of the testimony given to us just moments ago by Kimberly Cheadle. Now, please understand that Kimberly Cheadle is in a position where she's being questioned about information that has come out from the FBI and other places. That she is evasive on answering these questions is writing her professional epitaph. This is from NBC. This is a superb piece that does indeed analyze exactly what happened on Saturday, July 13th. Check this out from NBC on the Wells Report.
At 6:02 p.m., former President Trump walked on the stage. Thousands were there to see him speak. They would witness the first assassination attempt of a president in more than 40 years. He was immediately surrounded by Secret Service, his ear bloodied. By 6:13 p.m., he was rushed off the stage.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on, your head.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there.
In a video posted to TikTok, rally-goers noticed the shooter at least 2 minutes before shots were fired. By identifying features of the building and matching the location of the tree in the video, we can tell that this was filmed about 200 feet from the shooter. The gunman was on the rooftop of a nearby glass and plastics company, 450 feet from President Trump. In that same video, one officer appears to be walking along the building, another standing nearby. All of this happening as Trump addresses the crowd. Other attendees also spotted the gunman.
We noticed the guy bear crawling up the roof of the building. We could clearly see him with a rifle. We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service.
Earlier, the would-be assassin was seen behaving suspiciously near the metal detectors at the entrance to the event. In this video, a man who appears to be the shooter was filmed watching the rally near the building he would use for his attack. According to a senator briefed by Secret Service, there was a report of a suspicious person an hour before the shooting. The Secret Service alerted snipers 9 minutes before Trump took the stage.
This is a big crowd.
A local official says that he pulled his head up over their roof where he saw the shooter, who pointed his rifle at the officer.
One of the officers actually boosted the second officer high enough for him to grab hold of the roof. When he was able to pull his head up over the roof, he did in fact see an individual with a weapon.
He saw the shooter.
He did.
And what did the shooter do?
Turned towards him, his weapon pointed at the officer.
He says the officer ducked his head and fell 8 feet to the ground. and radioed for help. Law enforcement tells NBC News that there were multiple counter-sniper teams at the rally handling security. Video captures one team about 150 feet northeast of Trump appearing to react to something just before the first shot is heard. At 6:11 p.m., Trump turns his head to reference a chart on stage.
If you want to really see something,
Moments later, popping sounds erupt. Nine shots are heard over 16 seconds, ending with one person killed, the former president wounded, and 2 rallygoers seriously injured. The gunman dead on the rooftop. There were 3 sets of bleachers behind Trump. This man was in the bleachers over Trump's right shoulder.
I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium. I heard several gunshots. The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head, was instantly killed, fell to the bottom of the bleachers.
50-year-old firefighter Corey Comparator, a father of 2 daughters, was directly in the line of fire between the rooftop and the podium. He was killed shielding his family. Dave Dutch, a 57-year-old Marine veteran, was seated in the bleachers on the opposite side of the grandstand. He was also hit by gunfire. 74-year-old James Copenhaver, seated in the same area, was also shot. The hospital says both are in serious condition. The FBI is now leading the investigation into the assassination attempt and security at the event.
Yeah. And that is not the only report that's in the public domain. There are others, including one that talks about how Comparatori was laid to rest and indeed has a lot to say about the doctor who treated Trump in Butler County in Pennsylvania. And we have that for you here. This is from CBS, and it is sad because it discusses the funeral of Comparator and then the doctor. Take a look at this as we continue here on the Wells Report for this Monday morning.
A community in mourning. Dozens of fire trucks formed a procession through Freeport, Pennsylvania to honor 50-year-old Corey Comparator, the retired firefighter and father who died shielding his family from gunfire at Saturday's rally. Firefighters from as far away as Florida joined residents as his casket was draped with an American flag.
It's an emotional feeling. He served our country. He served his community and his family.
His wife and 2 daughters were among the mourners. Also paying tribute, former President Donald Trump, appearing on stage Thursday night with Comparator's uniform. Trump kissed his helmet during a speech at the Republican National Convention.
He lost his life selflessly acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit. What a fine man he was.
2 other victims shot at the rally, 57-year-old David Dutch and 74-year-old James Copenhaver, remain hospitalized in serious condition. The former president was treated at Butler Memorial Hospital. He did not require stitches.
When I heard the call, you're thinking worst case scenario.
Dr. David Rottinghouse says his staff coordinated with the Secret Service well in advance of the rally.
It was surreal. You prepare for things like this. You don't necessarily prepare to receive a president or former president.
A law enforcement source confirmed to CBS News that just before the assassination attempt against Trump, the gunman's father called 911, concerned about his son and his whereabouts.
We have also learned that a top priority for investigators is gaining access to encrypted sites that the shooter may have used. For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Charlie DeMar, Butler, Pennsylvania.
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And we have the Secret Service director apparently oblivious to all of these reports and indeed being as evasive as possible when it comes to exactly what's going on here. And it seems to me that this is clear cut. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's not just clear cut, but it's also epically disturbing. You heard it moments ago when Secretary and Director Cheadle sat there and said that she believed that the actual detail that was given President Donald Trump was indeed accurate and adequate. She was asked whether or not that would be the same kind of security detail for a sitting president. She equivocated, and then she said, given the circumstances, continuity of government, blah, 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 that indeed what had happened was, yeah, this was an adequate detail. In other words, last week when I discussed this, I said it looked to me like what Director Cheadle had done is done just enough to check off all the boxes in case something bad had happened to Donald Trump. In other words, yeah, we did everything we were supposed to do, but it was wholly inadequate. Okay, so that's the director of the Secret Service. Well, now wait a second. How much farther up does that go? Well, there's Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. He actually is a secretary, and he is the secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Is he someone that has any kind of faint understanding whatsoever of what security is? The answer is no. How do we know this? Because Alejandro Mayorkas thinks the southern border of the United States to this day is secure. He has no idea what security is. He is Director Cheadle's boss. So what I'm trying to find out here is, and yes, there were allusions to conspiracy theories in this hearing. They are rampant, they are rife, and they are unnecessary insofar as Director Cheadle needed to sit down with those senators that accosted her at the Republican National Convention, find a conversation pit, bring the cameras in, sit down, and start talking about what she actually knows at the exact time that those senators confronted her. There is nothing wrong with that. That's why you're a director. That's why you get paid the money that directors get paid. Because the buck does stop with you. And when answers are required, they should and will be given. And when that doesn't happen, your job as a director is gone. And it should be gone. And that it isn't is even more instructive. There are an awful lot of people that spend an awful lot of time making outrageous statements. A lot of leftist commentators say, well, the whole thing was faked. Really? Whole thing was faked, huh? Corey Comparator, that head injury, that was faked. The other two wounded, that was faked. The fact that the shooter on the roof, that was faked after he was destroyed by a Secret Service sniper. That's all fake, huh? I don't know how people make these kinds of statements. Alex Jones made statements like that regarding a shoot down at a school in the United States of America and ended up paying, or at least is liable to pay, billions of dollars to the families for saying they were crisis actors. Of course, that's not really a problem here insofar as you know, you don't have parents that are grieving the loss of their children. No, this is Donald Trump, and when it comes to these particular commentators, who's going to grieve for President Trump? But this is the level of communications coming out of the mainstream media. This is the level of communications coming out of the Biden administration, executive branch agencies, when they get caught not just with their pants down, but perhaps complicit in the assassination of Donald John Trump. So just exactly how deep does this rabbit hole go? We don't know. We do know that Director Cheadle wants the rabbit hole to be at least 60 days deep. She says, we're waiting for the report. I have said on this broadcast we should wait for the report, but I was pretty sure that it was going to take a lot less than 60 days. And by the way, when it comes right down to those reports, when we're talking about the IG and et cetera, then we're in a position here where we have to think about some of the questions being asked regarding that. Just exactly how long is it going to be before we see Ann Guzman ask this? Why has no one seen the IG report for the January 6th riot at the Capitol? Why haven't we seen the IG report on the shooting of Ashley Babbitt? You know, there was a January 6th committee. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there was a January 6th committee that talked about all the horrible, terrible, rotten, insurrectionist things that Donald Trump did, but nowhere in that testimony did I find anything having to do with the blowaway of Ashley Babbitt. So just exactly what was that committee trying to do? Well, we know. Trying to hang insurrection on Donald Trump. Trying to be the basis for another impeachment attempt. Trying to remove him from the political landscape. And what they forgot is that all of these echo chamber pieces of political garbage, not referring to people, just referring to the information that was carefully collated to make President Trump look as bad as possible, was not believed by the people of the United States when they were sure that it would be. What does that mean? Well, it means that the heady days of being able to take out presidents like CBS did with Lyndon Baines Johnson, and like the Washington Post and the mainstream media did with Richard M. Nixon, well, those things don't seem to be working anymore. And the reason they're not working is because the mainstream media, having abandoned truth and have taken political sides, no longer have the credibility that CBS News had in 1968. And when the rest of the mainstream media, the Washington Post, and that credibility they had in 1972. It's 2024. Nobody trusts the government of the United States. That was also in the hearing that we just saw. Nobody believes in the government of the United States from a standpoint of trust. Nobody believes the mainstream media because they don't report the facts. If you want the facts, you have to come here. And so, why is President Trump still in the political landscape? Because these people immolated themselves playing politics instead of actually serving the people of the United States. Part of that is good, because they should be banished to the scrap heap of history, very much like the yellow press sensationalist days back in the 19th century. There will be people studying the loss of faith in that the American people have in this day and age, not just with the mainstream media, but also with the government of the United States. There are times when you cannot play politics with reality. Obviously, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle doesn't realize that those days are gone. It's been brought up several times that indeed the situation is as follows. There are thousands of cameras at every one of these events. There is wall-to-wall coverage of these events. Not just 3 networks and a few newspapers. Everyone has an eyewitness account and the video to back it up. And these people just don't believe that that's really an important issue. I say it over and over and over again. We elect the wrong people to run this country, and they appoint the wrong people to run the parts of this country that matter the most, like the Secret Service. This is the Wells Report. Stick around. Coming up in just a couple of moments, the President of the United States has indeed decided to stand down. Just exactly where does that go? Just exactly who's pulling the strings? That's exactly what we'll talk about in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. Today is Monday, July 22nd, year of our Lord 2024. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. Yours and mine. Let's talk. Let's compare respectfully, politely, civilly on this broadcast. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. It happened yesterday. It was stunning, but it was also foretold on this broadcast for years. President Joe Biden has stood down from his presidential reelection campaign, and here's how a lot of people heard about it. This from MSNBC, Jen Psaki.
We have breaking news here. President Biden has announced he will stand down from the race. I'm going to read the statement here on my phone. We also have Tim Miller, who's going to be joining us shortly. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. Thank you so much. I'm just going to read off the paper here. Passed the first safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work, and let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Obviously, this is a significant breaking news development with the president announcing he is stepping back from the race. There was very little indication from people close to him and many people in the campaign that this was what was about to happen, as much as there were reports of Democrats calling on him to do that. What's interesting in this, I will note, and then we're going to bring Tim Miller in, is that he does not endorse the vice president in this statement. We'll see what he says later this week. And I know there's going to be a lot of reactions from people coming in as this statement was just put out.
It was just put out, and that was indeed a live rendition of what happened yesterday when President Biden saw fit to leave his reelection campaign. we used Jen Psaki's rendition of that report because she was President Biden's former press secretary. USA Today reports it as follows. Americans woke up today to an upended presidential campaign after Joe Biden dropped his troubled reelection bid and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as his successor in the Democrat Party's race to stop Donald Trump from regaining the White House. President Biden, who's 81, faced a wellspring of pressure to leave the race after he appeared disoriented at a televised debate with Trump last month. He passed the torch to Harris, who soon announced her bid for the party's nomination. Behind the scenes, the Biden campaign machine switched gears to benefit the vice president. There is interesting information in that this statement came out before even his co-chair of his campaign knew anything about it. The surprise on Jen Psaki's face is apparent. Her emotions, too. She did a professional job of relating the story. But that being said, this was something that, as many things in the Biden administration, seemed to come out of order in a discombobulated way, with not everybody knowing what they needed to know. In other words, an administration that is scattershot rather than calculated. Trump reckoned with a new November opponent, one almost 20 years his junior, as some Democrat donors celebrated what was called the shot of adrenaline that Harris could bring to the pivotal race. Now we have to start all over again, said Trump in a Truth Social post, and there are indeed live updates. Harris today spoke at an event celebrating college athletes, her first public appearance since Biden dropped out of the 2024 presidential election. NCAA Sports Day brings championship teams from the National Collegiate Athletic Association to the White House. She spoke at the event in 2023, which saw more than 1,000 student athletes from nearby 50 teams, according to Harris's remarks. In her first remarks launching her campaign, she paid tribute to Joe Biden and Beau Biden. In her first public remarks since she became the de facto presumptive Democrat nominee, Kamala Harris paid tribute to Joe Biden and his son Beau. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishments over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. At one term, he already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office. She said she met with Joe Biden through his son Beau. Beau Biden was the Attorney General of Delaware, while Harris was serving in the same role in California. Beau Biden died from brain cancer in 2015. Back then, Beau would often tell me stories about his dad. He would talk about the kind of father and the kind of man he was, the qualities that Beau revered in his father are the same qualities I have seen every day from our president: his honesty, his integrity, his commitment to faith and family, his big heart and deep love for the country. Samuel Vilches, who is the chair of the Orange County Democrat Party in Florida, said in a press call this morning that the Florida Democrat National Committee is endorsing Harris. I'm thrilled to announce a unanimous endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris by the Florida Democrat National Committee members, all 15 of us. We've come together in a resounding show of unity and purpose to stand with the vice president. She is expected in Delaware this afternoon. Kamala Harris, who Joe Biden endorsed yesterday after announcing he will no longer seek re-election, is going to Delaware, according to U.S. Senator Tom Carper. Harris is expected to arrive in the Newcastle County Monday afternoon, where she will meet with members of the Delaware delegation and go to Biden's campaign headquarters in Wilmington, which is expected to transition to hers as she mounts her presidential campaign. It's unclear whether the president will be joining the meeting. As of today, it's day 5 of COVID isolation after he tested positive Thursday. He's been in Rehoboth Beach battling the latest round of COVID and is expected to address the nation later this week regarding his decision to bow out of the presidential race. That is the very latest information that we have here on the Wells Report. There obviously were responses from various people, and those responses started with President Trump even before the actual announcement happened. He was speaking with Jesse Waters in a complete interview. This is an exclusive on Fox News. He spoke with Jesse Waters of Jesse Waters Prime Time, a show that I really like a lot, and had this to say regarding the possible change at the top of the Democrat Party.
FBI is doing an investigation on the assassination attempt. Do you trust the Bureau?
I don't trust the Bureau leadership, but I certainly think there are a lot of good field agents, guys on the ground. But what the hell was going on? How was that guy ever allowed to be there in the first place? Because I think somebody, whether it's higher up or somebody else involved, really did screw up.
There's some things going on with our government that we have to really worry about. Did we have enough people? Why didn't we have enough people? Somebody said that a lot of people were put on Biden's detail. The problem is Biden doesn't draw anybody. He draws flies.
Yeah, he draws flies. That was President Trump discussing President Biden. And you can certainly see that there is a certain level of, I guess, more reality than what you might think. But then again, that's Trump, isn't it? By the way, for his part, President Trump did indeed have another rally. This happened, I believe, yesterday. But the president, again, spoke very critically of the president.
Tonight, Donald Trump, now the official Republican nominee in 2024, back on the campaign trail.
This is a hell of an arena.
Appearing at a rally for the first time with his vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance. And for the first time since the attempted assassination in Pennsylvania.
When you think of it, it was exactly 1 week ago today, almost to the hour, even to the minute. Yeah.
The security presence outside and inside this downtown Grand Rapids arena evident. Long lines at security screening. As law enforcement keep a close eye on the crowd from the ground and from above.
Is there an explicit ramped up security presence for something like this?
Certainly after what happened last week, Secret Service, local police certainly don't want to have any incidents going forward.
It doesn't matter if they're going to try to take shots, we're still going to support them no matter what.
The tighter security extending to Trump's new running mate. Vance and his family now under Secret Service protection. Trump took to the stage wearing a smaller bandage. In a new letter today, Trump's former White House physician, Ronnie Jackson, writing that the bullet struck the top of his right ear and came less than 1/4 of an inch from entering his head. The bullet track produced a 2-centimeter wide wound, approximately the width of a penny.
At first, you didn't know if he was even alive. And when he stood up and he raised his fist in the air, and then there was a collective cheer. I mean, that just, you were just riveted.
Less than 4 months from now, we are going to win Michigan. We are going to take back the White House with a monumental landslide.
We want an America that works for Americans, and the only way to do it is to re-elect Donald J. Trump, President of the United States.
Vaughn, it's Mr. Trump's first rally back. What has his tone been like?
Right, we heard a much more subdued tenor from Donald Trump at his Milwaukee convention speech. Tonight, though, he is back to, you could say, his old self, his normal intonation, even surveying the crowd on which Democrat they'd like to face in the general election.
That is Vaughn Hilliard reporting for NBC. We thank them very much for allowing us to run that report. There are obviously a lot of Democrats talking a lot of things today. Some of those people are not President Obama, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Indeed, we also haven't heard from the House leadership at this particular moment. And a lot of people are wondering why. It could be that the question that was just asked just a moment ago, what kind of strong arm techniques did they use to force him to quit? Asks Yvonne. That is a very good question. Will there be answers? Probably not. Probably not. What we have here is we have a lot of people have said it. It is a conspiracy theory at this time, but it certainly looks like at least a party coup against President Biden. Is it one that was necessary? As I said at the outset of this report, yes, it was necessary. Joe Biden, like him, don't like him, believe in him, don't believe in him, is a president of the United States. He is, and should be accorded the respect that goes with the office. And we do that here on the Wells Report because he is the president of the United States. However, how much longer is that going to be the case? There are calls for the president to resign. We'll get to that too. And your comments, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Where does America stand? Where does the Democrat Party stand? Interesting that the president also said party before country. That was also noted by Mark. And we have other things to discuss, and we will next on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for being with us today. Curious timing, a statement issued the same day President Joe Biden made his historic announcement to end his bid for re-election. That statement was given by former President Barack Obama, commending Joe Biden's choice at the end of his campaign, saying he selflessly put the nation's interests above his own. However, in his own statement, President Biden did reference party before country. In this statement, there was no mention of Vice President Kamala Harris, who Biden endorsed after dropping out of the race. Hakeem Jeffries, The ranking member of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, and selected others have extolled the virtues of Joe Biden, but have not mentioned Kamala Harris. That is instructive. There are other political ideas and other things being said, and this is a report from CBS News discussing it.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale joins us this morning with the latest reactions from lawmakers on the Hill. Good morning. It's been more than 3 weeks for Democrats, tumultuous weeks for Democrats following that debate. However, President Biden's decision to leave this race has now been met with a fresh wave of support and optimism from some in his party, many of whom have been calling for him to step aside. What have we heard from Democrats in the wake of this, this political shock this weekend?
A political shock this weekend, but I'll tell you, on Capitol Hill, we have felt every single hour of every single one of those days that have elapsed from that June 27th debate all the way up until yesterday's decision. And I think those shockwaves are still making their way through the Capitol, where lawmakers are finally going to be back in town today. So I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say on this. But look, most Democrats are doing exactly what Congressman Amo just did, which is say that they appreciate Biden's years of service, point to the legislative accomplishments that he led them in passing over the course of the last several years. And then, of course, in most cases, throwing their weight behind Kamala Harris. Of course, there are some notable exceptions. For example, we haven't heard from leadership in an official capacity on this, but that also could have a few different explanations, which I know we can get into. On the other hand, we are watching some Democrats say that they regret this process had to play out at all. Those voices are, of course, a smaller percentage of the larger Democratic apparatus, where I would tell you most of them are coalescing behind Kamala Harris in a way that I, as someone who's covered her for years, haven't seen and didn't think we would.
Ali, let's talk about the Republican side here. Many lawmakers, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, are demanding that President Biden resign, saying if he's not fit to run for president, he's not fit to serve out the rest of his term. Clearly, this is politics at play here, but what more can you tell us about the GOP reaction?
Politics at play in Washington.
Yeah, imagine that.
Of course it is, Joe. You're right to point it out. But this is, I think, always where it was going to go on the Republican side of this. And we watched Garrett lay out the way that the Trump campaign has been putting the stakes around this. But for Republicans on Capitol Hill, the idea that they are now saying that Biden should not be able to finish out his term is sort of where we anticipated this going. And it's also why you saw many Democrats in their statements, even when they were calling for Biden to step down, they made very clear that this was a political concern, not a medical concern, in large part because they didn't want their Republican colleagues or for Democrats to have to be put in the position of saying, we think that Biden can serve his term, but not continue to run for re-election. So this has always been a political question. Nevertheless, Republicans drawing that line from a poor debate performance to something deeper and saying that's why Biden should step down. I think those calls, I think we can all agree, are going to fall on deaf ears. But that's where the Republicans are, at least on the Hill side of this, as the Trump campaign and other Republicans try to play the political campaign side of it.
Yeah. By the way, that was NBC, not CBS. But it was a good report. And yeah, there are a lot of things that are left unanswered at this particular moment, but that's understandable. Mugg says, by the way, that, and he says this correctly, that President Obama didn't endorse anybody in 2020. That's true. Absolutely true. And also, he mentions all the governors mentioned are possible presidential candidates have thrown their support today behind VP Harris. There will not be an open convention. There could have been one had Biden chose not to run earlier this year. I don't think there would be an open one. I think there would probably be exactly what's going on. They would coalesce around a particular candidate, most likely Kamala Harris. And by the way, why am I still the only one pronouncing her name right? Let's just move forward. There's also something else. There's an interesting idea about why Kamala Harris would be this acclamation candidate. More about that in a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. There is a hue and cry, not unlike the one that caused President Biden to step away from his re-election campaign. There are a lot of people saying, okay, if you can't run a campaign, how about you step away from the presidency? National Review, the editorial board, called on President Biden to resign from office in a scathing editorial yesterday after he announced he would not seek re-election in November. Biden should take the next logical step and resign the presidency It's possible to imagine a president not being able to campaign, but still being capable of carrying out his official duties, say if he had a serious physical impairment. And it's even possible to imagine a president who could serve for another 6 months, but not another 4.5 years. But such scenarios do not apply to Biden. That was from Fox News through the National Review. This from the BBC. Many Republicans quickly called on President Joe Biden to resign and leave the White House after his announcement over the weekend that he would withdraw from the 2024 presidential race. Republican leaders said that Mr. Biden's decision to step aside confirmed their view that he was not in cognitive shape to serve as president, an issue that has dogged the Democrat since his disastrous debate last month. If Joe Biden is not fit for running the presidency, he is not fit to serve as president, said Speaker Mike Johnson, the most powerful Republican in Congress. Quote, he must resign the office immediately. November 5th cannot arrive soon enough, said Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. Biden, announcing he was dropping out, say he would stay in office until the end of his term in January. The White House, a few hours later, reiterated he would not resign, stating, quote, he looks forward to finishing his term and delivering more historic results for the American people, unquote. In my view, obviously, this may be a bit controversial, but I will say this. It strains credulity that indeed President Biden has been running the Biden administration. It is not something, and I don't mean this in a mean way, okay? I've been very gentle with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a political creature. He has been so for a half century. He is, as I believe Robert Herr perfectly said, a well-meaning elderly man with a faulty memory. That memory fault may be a bit more serious than was talked about by Special Counsel Robert Herr when it came to the classified documents in the possession of the president. But I've been careful with Joe Biden, because I don't think he's a terribly horrible bad guy, although I'm a bit concerned over influence peddling, which I believe exists, but I don't have any proof of, and the Republicans, seemingly with proof, refuse to do anything about. So don't think this is a partisan screed by some right-wing crazy guy. I'm upset with everyone. So, the state of play. There are Democrats, highly placed Democrats, party bosses, if you will, extolling the virtues of Joe Biden, but not endorsing Kamala Harris. There are Republicans calling for the president to step aside. Brit Hume, yesterday on Fox News, pointed out, which would you rather do? Would you rather run against Kamala Harris as a pseudo-incumbent, or would you rather there be an open process at a Democrat convention that may choose someone else? There are a few people that could step into the role, as pointed out on the chat room, and I believe, by the way, it was by Mugwump. You know, Hakeem Jeffries is a pretty good candidate, but as I said before the break, there's some intrigue about that. Do they want to put Hakeem Jeffries in a position with very short time before the election to mount a presidential campaign that would be equal to defeating Donald Trump? That answer could be yes, but it's never happened before. But that also leads us to a lot of other big name Democrats, specifically Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, a lot of people, and there is even more intrigue. While we're talking about party bosses, just exactly what kind of conversations is Hillary Clinton having? Who is she talking to? Joining us here on the Wells Report is someone who I have immense professional admiration for. She was one of the greatest news people, if not the greatest news persons that ever worked with us on the Wells Report. The great Val Dior is joining us from Corpus Christi, Texas. Val, welcome to the show. Good to have you here. Ms. Val. Oh, here you go. I turned the wrong knob. I turned the wrong knob. It's my fault.
Listen, you can't start like that because I was, like I'm in pit bull mode. And then you start with something soft like that. And then I'm like, oh, that was really nice of you to say. So I appreciate that.
You're
All
discussing my careful handling of the president.
right. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, right. Well, and you're complimenting me. No, thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
I think the world of you. You know that. You know that. But okay, so I'm going to try something different because you know what this theory is. You know how carefully I've taken this into consideration, and you know how careful I am just in general before I run with anything, sort of old school journalism, the way it's supposed to be. I have been throttled and, of course, trolled since I sort of quietly floated this out there, the last couple of months. So I'm going to try something different. Let's start at the end result. And the end result, let's ask ourselves, what is to come at the end? The Democrats want to win. We know that. We know how desperate they are. For some of us, if you put it in terms, some would say we're in a spiritual warfare right now, good versus evil. The devil is getting desperate. So anything goes. Let me remind you of that. Anything goes. So with that in mind, see how I kind of got ahead of that? Because I know the pushback. I've already gotten the pushback, but unequivocally, I think I have the answer to what's going on. Well, unequivocally, I do, and it started back in February. I came across and now feel comfortable telling you this because, again, there are people's lives at stake. I mean, we joke about what happens, if you cross the Clintons, but there was someone who, in casual conversation, might I add, and I've done homework, and that person feels secure in me talking now. Works a seasonal job waiting tables, takes time out to vacation, but works a seasonal job waiting tables in Charleston. This person casually in conversation said, you wouldn't believe who I saw down here. It was Hillary Clinton with Nikki Haley.
How interesting.
That was in February. So I've been sort of scratching my head and biting my tongue in February going, whoa. And of course, it's taken that long. I'm going to tell you officially that it is only the last day or so I think I put on Twitter. But you're the first person I've told, that it was indeed someone who overheard conversations. And by the way, didn't have to sign an NDA before working at this spot. So there is nothing. This is someone who respects journalistic integrity, everything legal by the book until he felt comfortable. That's so no NDA, no violations, no nothing. They've just gotten sloppy because they're overconfident. And the theory is the letter, in a nutshell, the letter yesterday didn't come from the White House. We know that. It came from Jill Biden because something has happened to Joe. He's obviously taken a turn for the worse, or he is even already gone. We don't know that.
Well.
But Jill knows that Hillary and Haley have had no plan for Kamala whatsoever. They think she's a joke. Hillary has no problem trading in, a black Kamala, or some say a brown Kamala, for a brown Nikki Haley. Wealthy dim owners have flocked to Charleston. They are snatching up homes because they love the climate.
Sure. And
a lot of international talk going
yeah.
on. So this is a thing.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So it wouldn't be much of a stretch to think that Nikki Haley could also put herself into this particular race. And because of her talking point campaign against the Democrat talking point campaign that she waged against President Trump in the primaries. Yep. So you're saying that maybe the party bosses, if you will, even though Hillary Clinton is out in public endorsing Kamala Harris, you're thinking that there may indeed be some backroom conversations as we speak going on as to what might happen at the Democrat National Convention on August 27th?
Yes. What I'm saying is there, and let me run through a couple of things quickly.
Well, quickly,
I believe
yes.
I believe that Jill, that was a parting shot. I believe that Jill knew that Kamala there were no plans with Hillary and Haley. And so she lost her leverage when Joe took a turn for the worse. She thought she could milk it a little longer, and that's not what happened. So that was a parting shot. So now Kamala is technically, a wrench in the machine. unity. This person overheard them cackling, and literally that was the term he used, cackling over the party of unity. We're the party of unity. Well, we know they're only united in hate. But the light bulb moment came for me because I had forgotten he said this. Was Nikki Haley on stage at RNC? I had heard that if she wasn't welcomed at RNC, that she would be more than welcomed at DNC. Notice Donald Trump said a couple of rallies prior, I got to stop with the name calling. We ain't heard no more bird praise.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he knows that Hillary and a Haley is dangerous. But the light bulb moment came for me when she said unity on stage. Go back and look at the speech. She gritted her teeth through it and looked at Trump, and there was that word unity that was sitting there going, I remember what he said. So they're going to paint themselves as the true party of unity. And it's, why is it dangerous? Because every person who hates Trump, I don't care what color you are, white, black, purple, man, woman, anybody who sort of looks at life emotionally, I mean, let's face it, driven on hate, is going to stand behind a Hillary Haley.
I wonder. We'll have to see. Val, thanks very much for your ideas, and I appreciate your thoughts this afternoon, on the Wells Report. So it does come as an interesting, okay, who's next kind of situation. And this leads to something that I said before the break. The Democrats may indeed be trying to figure out who they want to lose this election. And this came up in a conversation that I had, I guess, a couple of days ago with a friend of mine who I play golf with. And it's this. Well, who's going to be Kamala Harris? Let's assume Kamala Harris wins the nomination. She says she wants to earn and win the nomination. Good words. Who would be her running mate? And I immediately said, why, Pete Buttigieg? And there was some head scratching going on, and I go, well, here's the situation that I see. And once again, this is wild speculation. All right. None of this means anything. It's just something that I thought about. The Democrat Party has a progressive politics problem. They have a major problem with progressives in their midst because they are decidedly anti-American, not just with their verbiage, not just with their actions, but indeed with what that verbiage and those actions actually end up leading to, which is a socialist future for the United States. This is something the Democrat Party doesn't want. And so you're seeing a situation where the real Democrat Party, which I've referred to several times on this broadcast, may be indeed seeing this as an opportunity to put the progressive agenda for the Democrat Party on full display as a Harris Buttigieg ticket. Because if indeed they were sundered in that election, a few things would happen. Hakeem Jeffries would still be in play for 2028. Gretchen Whitmer would still be in play for 2028. Gavin Newsom would still be in play for 2028. And a bunch of other candidates that would like to shy away from the 2024 election would also be intact for the next election. The question is, do you believe the Democrat Party is thinking that far ahead? Are they willing to believe that they're going to lose this election? And if they are willing to believe that, who will be at the top of the ticket to lose that election? This has been brought up before. It's hard to believe, but indeed Kamala Harris has a lower approval number among the American people. This was an old survey. You got to keep this in mind. Once again, it's election year survey and polling, and it is absolutely, decidedly, calculatedly inaccurate. But do you believe, and it comes down to this question, whether you're a Democrat or Republican makes no difference. Do you believe that Kamala Harris has a better chance to win the presidential election against Donald Trump? Or do you believe someone else would have a better chance? Do you believe that Kamala Harris has a chance to win this election? Do you believe that the Democrat Party has a candidate so good? And I brought up Michelle Obama. And Michelle Obama said, nope, not going to have anything to do with it. But, as was brought up by the great Bill Hemmer on Fox News. You know what? You're not in the election. You're not in the campaign until you're in the campaign. You're not in politics until you are. Do you believe Kamala Harris has a better chance to defeat Donald Trump than President Biden did? Or any of the other names I've mentioned? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Spend a little bit of time on the chat room, on the telephone. 817-379-2172. Let's talk it over. Who's going to be the Democrat standard bearer? Who's going to be the vice presidential pick if it's Kamala Harris? Next on the Wells Report.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. There is breaking news. The Wall Street Journal now reports that Vice President Kamala Harris, delivering remarks at the White House, paying tribute to President Biden before honoring the 2023-24 NCAA championship teams, has indeed gotten some heavy-duty help. Nancy Pelosi, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, has now endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for president, saying her support for Harris is official, personal, and political. Officially, I have seen Kamala Harris's strength and courage as a champion for working families, notably fighting for a woman's right to choose. Personally, I've known Kamala Harris for decades, is rooted in strong values, faith, and a commitment to public service. Politically, make no mistake, Kamala Harris as a woman in politics is brilliantly astute, and I have full confidence that she will lead us to victory in November. So the Wall Street Journal also goes on to say it didn't take long for Democrat governors and lawmakers, along with powerful fundraising groups. By the way, in case you're wondering, Kamala Harris made an amazing $50 million haul in grassroots donations since President Biden suspended his campaign. Former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have both endorsed Harris. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, several Democrats mentioned as top presidential contenders. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Governor Gavin Newsom, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg endorsed Harris. That might be, yes, we're going to get right behind Kamala Harris and her candidacy because we don't want to be the one in the campaign. That's just an observation. Doesn't necessarily need to be true. Senate Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. There are political figures that addressed Biden's withdrawal without endorsing Harris, including former President Barack Obama, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, although he'll probably endorse here in a minute, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and indeed Michael Bloomberg. Okay. There are a lot of problems with a candidacy from Kamala Harris. There are a lot of things she said and done that will create real problems for her presidential campaign, but we'll see just exactly how those are handled as time goes by. Going to the chat room, Mugwump talking about the National Review editorial, talking about President Biden stepping down from office. He says it's a disingenuous editorial. It's not that he was unable to campaign. It was all that polling, including the latest internal polling, indicating he was not only going to lose, but also bring down the Democrat ticket. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And besides, okay, just how mean-spirited do we want to get here? Just how mean-spirited do we want to get here? I'm basing this statement on this. President Biden is managed. By who? Well, party bosses that we saw arguing for him to step aside. He's managed. He will continue to be managed while he's the president. I believe we leave the old man alone and let him finish his presidency. That's what I think we ought to do. Yeah, it's a political move. It can be seen as a political move because you really don't want to agitate for the removal of President Biden and put Kamala Harris in the chair behind the Resolute desk, because then she would be a pseudo-incumbent going into the election. Okay, but to me, that drops out of the equation. That's just politics, and you know how little regard I have for politics, especially now. No, I think we leave the old man alone. Let him finish it. Let him finish it, and it would be good, I think, for the unity idea being preached by the Republican nominee, President Trump. I believe that probably would be a good idea. We don't have to, I don't think we have to rub President Biden's nose in it, do we? That's just something that I thought I'd put out there. The other thing about this is that, once again, you've got to look behind the words and see if there's any meaning possible, and no one can really say that there is or isn't, because it's politics. And politics, especially now, is disingenuous at every level. Every level. Indeed, Speaker Mike Johnson saying, oh, by all means, let's get Joe Biden out of office. Maybe he's doing that so that it has a reverse psychological effect. I've made my point clear. I don't think we need to rub Joe Biden's nose in anything. Just let him finish his job. That's what I think. Other people say the Dems want him to resign because it thinks it will give Harris the sympathy vote. That's Yvonne. His mental issues did not start at the debate. True. I feel Kamala is qualified to run for the presidency. I say this with a heavy heart, says Carlos. I think Gavin Newsom might have a better chance at taking the electoral vote. Let's see. The governors have all endorsed VP Harris. The Clintons have also thrown their support behind the VP, says Mug. It really doesn't matter who the Democrat candidate is. It seems as though that Gary believes that President Obama will be calling the shots. Buttigieg would be a good choice. I don't think he's their top tier of choices. But yeah, what that does is it does put the progressive movement on display. And perhaps if there is an electoral loss in the 2024 election with a Harris-Buttigieg ticket, it might hold the progressive movement at bay a bit. I think the Democrats are willing to sacrifice Kamala to keep their bullpen, such as it is, intact. They've got a good bullpen. They've got some real players there, Mark. That's true. If I were a betting man, I'd say Governor Josh Shapiro. My personal preference would be Senator Mark Kelly. Once again, I don't believe that these guys are going to burn their opportunity in that way. What a day on the Wells Report. Listen again tomorrow, and we'll start tamping down more facts and more reporting on all these stories and more right here on this broadcast. Thanks for being a part of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report. Mug, that's good. That's good stuff. Really, that's good stuff. Let's see. Absolutely, let him finish. Nothing would change. True. Ann says that. We don't need to do that. No one could challenge Trump, but Hillary or Haley. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That's an interesting thing, because Nikki Haley has been a Democrat for a long time. I mean, she was the Democrat Party representative in all of the primary debates against Trump, wasn't she? So that wouldn't surprise me a bit. Let's see what else. Great show, JD. Have a wonderful day. You too. God bless all y'all. I love you all, including you, Mug. Carlos, thanks. God bless you. Valerie, thanks for being a part of this broadcast, and I will see you again tomorrow for more of the Wells Report. Until then.